So if all goes well, then you can see now on the screen, online webinar, data-driven recruitment, how to get more inflow for your vacancy. That's why we're all here together. Just a little bit of housekeeping. At the right side of your screen, you can see a chat where you can ask any questions you want concerning the webinar, of course. And then we will try to answer them immediately, or if it will take us too long, we will answer them at the end. But please don't hesitate to ask questions. That's why Mark is also here.
Yes. So if you don't ask questions, I'm going to be here fiddling with my fingers all the time. So please ask questions. And that makes it a lot more interactive and make sure it's also productive for you guys.
Indeed, indeed. We're also going to launch some polls, some questions over there where you can answer several questions we are going to ask you guys. So please be a bit interactive and answer them when you can.
This is an order.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
All right. So first of all, what is Simple? Simple has built a technology so that we can find very targeted audiences for your vacancy on social media. We do lots of recruitment campaigns on Facebook and Instagram, and there are all paid advertisements. All right, the agenda for today, we're going to talk about why data-driven recruitment is important and also why you should do it. What should you pay attention to when preparing, because there is a bit of technical stuff that you need to do before you can actually say you do data-driven recruitment. And then at the end, we're going to say how you can measure your results, because of course you're going to spend budget on your campaigns, on your recruitment campaigns, and you want to optimize your campaigns the best possible way. What is not on the agenda? Free organic recruiting on social media. Like I already said, we only do paid advertisement on social media. How do you set up a campaign? We're not going to discuss here. And what is a great working ad? Neither, but we've done already lots of webinars. We've done interactive workshops as well, which you can find on our social media accounts, on our LinkedIn profile, on our Facebook profile. So go and check it out there, because today will be about data-driven recruitment.
Just because don't go check it out now, please stay in the room, right? Because we're going to talk about some interesting stuff also.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Now, why do you should believe us? Well, we do data-driven recruitment now for almost 6 years. We measure 11 million data points per month, which is really a lot. It's not only me that does that, it's also algorithms behind it, and of course our software that measures all these, that analyzes all these data points. We filled in over 82 vacancies at a percentage of our clients. And here you can find some of our clients. We have multinationals, but also SME customers like you see on the screen. All right, but I'm not going to promote Simple anymore.
A bit at the end.
A bit at the end. Well, you should definitely stay at the end, because you can receive access to our software, to a free trial. So please stay till the end and you'll receive a link for that to check it out. All right. Why should you do data-driven recruitment? Well, first of all, you want to understand every steps that a person makes to get to an application. So first they see a campaign, then they land on your website, and then they, well, I hope they apply for your vacancy. So you want to understand, you want to measure everything. And why? Because you want to optimize the right way. Like I already said, you pay, you set a budget for it, you make campaigns, and you want to optimize at the right step of your recruitment process. All right. So first of all, you have to have a better insight of your recruitment process, and you can visualize this through a recruitment funnel. A recruitment funnel are all the steps that a potential candidate actually goes through. So first of all, they come in the attract phase. In the attract phase, they see a campaign. For example, a paid advertisement on Facebook and Instagram, but it can also be a campaign on a job board. That is the attract phase. When they click on the campaign, then they come on your vacancy on your website. And there they read, of course, your vacancy. Then you get through an application. And then if you have lots of applications, eventually you will come to an hire. So this is a simple visualization of the recruitment process, which is called the recruitment funnel. It can be as extensive as you want because, I mean, every application process is different throughout different companies. So you can make it, you can customize it yourself with all the steps the person has to do to apply. I'm going to give you an example of all these steps. For example, Duracell is one of our clients. We did a campaign for it on social media, Facebook and Instagram. It was a technical profile that they were searching. We generated 200,000 impressions on Facebook and Instagram. There came 2,000 visitors on the vacancy page. We had 80 applications and 1 hire. Now, if you know all these metrics, these are really important metrics for your recruitment funnel, then you can also put a cost on it. For example, the 2,000 impressions was a cost of 1,000 euros. When I'm talking about 1,000 euros, I'm talking about real media budget and not all the working time that you put into. So if you see any costs on the slides that still have to come, it's always media budgets. But if you know that 200,000 impressions was 1,000 euro, then you also know that 1 visitor costs 50 cents. You know that 1 application was 12.5 euro and that you had a hire for 1,000 euro media budget, which is actually pretty good. Now, if you know all these metrics, all these data points, then you can go a bit further as well. Like, for example, if you have an account manager function vacancy in Antwerp, and you also have an account manager vacancy in Brussels, then you can also compare all these metrics throughout the different regions, but also the cost of it. And it's important with data-driven recruitment that you capture all these data points to optimize your future campaigns as best as possible. All right, I hope everything is clear. If not, please don't hesitate to ask.
Still no questions. I'm still kind of, like I said, doing nothing here, Stephanie.
Okay.
I think it's really useless, but okay.
All right, then we go on to the next topic. So where do you start? How can you measure every data point like I already explained to you? Well, there are different tools. All the tools that are shown on this slide are free, by the way. So you have, of course, your website, you have the applications, you have job boards. In Belgium, we have VDAB for that. You have LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. These are all platforms where you can attract your candidates. Now, all these platforms have metrics, have data points, and you want to capture them all together, of course. And that's where Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager comes in. What is Google Analytics? Well, Google Analytics is actually a piece of code that you have to install on your website. And in that way, Google Analytics will capture all the events that a visitor takes on your website. So, for example, if they land on your website, then you know exactly where they come from, how long have they been on the page, did they click through different pages, etc., etc. But you have to install everything correctly, all these events in Google Tag Manager first. I don't know if you already have installed Google Analytics, but it's really important before you start on data-driven recruitment. You want to capture every data point, every metric with Google Analytics. So please install Google Analytics on your website if you haven't done it yet. Now, all these measure points, because you collect lots of data, are all GDPR approved, but you have to tell it correctly in your privacy policy on your website. So make sure to do that. Now, how do you capture all this data? Well, normally, old school, you receive the applications through email. So an applicant sends you an email with a motivation letter, with a CV, and then you capture all these different applications in a Google Sheet, for example. Well, then you have one data point, namely the amount of applications. But that's not enough, of course. You can do it a bit more interactive, and so you can measure more data points. And what we do is, like you see here, for example, you see an advertisement of assistant manager on Facebook. You click on it, and then you come to our website, which is always mobile friendly because 80% of our applicants come from mobile. So we make it short, we make it snappy, we make it fun. Then they click on I apply, and then they come on the type form. And this is an interactive chatbot where we ask questions about them. So the clients who will screen all the applications can easily screen the candidates and can easily go through all the responses of the candidates. This is a new way to apply, yes, indeed, and it's really innovative. It says something about your company, but of course anyone can do it. It's not that difficult. So how do we measure applications? We've made a thank you page on our website where every applicant, if they fill in the type form, if they fill in the chatbot, then they come on the thank you page. And this is measured as a goal, as an event in Google Analytics. So Google Analytics knows exactly when an application is done and also where the applicant comes from. I will tell you a bit more about that later on. So, but I just want to point out again that Google Analytics is the core of everything.
Can I just stress that again?
Yeah.
Because I think what's important is that obviously, if you're listening here, you're interested in data-driven recruitment. But even if we know it's summer, we know maybe some of your plans will be in September, October. There's a lot of benefit in going to your IT team or to the people responsible for your website and installing all of that today, right? Mm-hmm. Because the quicker you start measuring, the quicker you start gathering data, the more data you will have for when, for instance, you will start with your campaign in September or October. So don't wait for it. Don't think, I only have to do this once I go live with my vacancy or with my campaign. Do it now, because the more you can learn, the more Google can learn about you, about the traffic, the more data you will have to optimize your campaign in the future. That's one reason. The second one is this is not going to work from the first day. You're going to have to tweak. You're going to have to check whether all the events are correct, whether you're measuring everything in the right at the right time, whether all the data is coming in correctly. That's going to take you a couple of, depending on how good you are, days or weeks to get that right. And you don't want to do that when your campaign is live, right? You want to be all set. You want everything ready to rock and roll once you go live with your campaign.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Steph.
No
I just
worries.
felt a bit kind of, a bit lonely here in my corner.
Please ask some questions.
If you're not going to ask questions, I'm going to interrupt Stephanie even more. Okay? So it's all in your hands, people.
All right. Now, like I already said, Google Analytics does know where the people come from. And this can be divided in 4 different categories. First of all, you have paid traffic. Paid traffic is traffic from paid advertisement, for example, from Facebook and Instagram. The social traffic is when a visitor comes from an organic post, for example, from your LinkedIn page or your Facebook page or your Instagram page or whatever. That's called social traffic. Then you have organic traffic. This is when someone searches for vacancy account manager in Google, for example, and then they land on your vacancy. This is organic. And then, of course, you have direct. And direct is when they type in the URL of your website, of your vacancy, and they land directly on your vacancy page. Now, the social, the organic, and the direct traffic are all for free. The paid traffic is, of course, paid.
As the name would suggest.
Yes, indeed. Now, how do you know where they come from? Like we already said, you have to install Google Analytics, but also when you send out links, when you set up links in your campaigns or in on your Facebook wall, you have to make sure that every link has UTM parameters. What are UTM parameters? Well, these are actually pieces of codes of text that you set up after your link. So for example, here you see also a link, you see a question mark, and then you have UTM source is Facebook. So the traffic comes from Facebook. And in that way, you have different UTM parameters like source, medium, campaign, content, and term, like you see here. But of course, there are more. You can set up more, but make sure that everyone in your company knows what the strategy is behind it. So it's easily to analyze all the different applications that come from these different sources, these different campaigns. I hope that is clear because it's a bit technical. But so if you set up, for example, an ad in Facebook, then make sure that you set up your link correctly. So you set up UTM sources Facebook, UTM medium CPC, the right campaign, maybe also the audience you've used, the picture. So if an applicant comes from that link, then you know exactly that it comes from that advertisement. All right. Here you have an example of how it is shown in Google Analytics. So here you see that there are visitors from Facebook. CPC is called cost per click. I will explain it to you a bit further. You see that there's 65% of the paid traffic, and then the other traffic is from organic, social, and direct. So, okay. I don't know if someone has questions or if maybe everyone has already installed Google Analytics, which is a really, really good thing, of course.
But I just again, I want to stress again, I'll just put on my camera because otherwise people just hear my voice. But Google Analytics is very powerful, right? But it's only going to be powerful if you have the discipline to use the UTM parameters correctly, right? If you just post your ad on Indeed, you post it on Facebook, and you post it on your own website, but you don't take into account the right UTM parameters, then Google Analytics is also just going to show you one number, right? So although Google Analytics is a powerful tool, it can only work if the quality of the data that is delivered into the tool is correct. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's very important, and that's why we're also maybe going a bit into that detail. But if you don't set up your UTM parameters correctly, and it's not that difficult, you just need to think about it and have a consistent approach to it, then all the data you have in Google Analytics will be useless. Again, coming back to my earlier point on set it up now, right? Mm-hmm. As quickly as possible, because it's going to take some time getting everything right, making sure you can track it, and that takes some time to get over that. Mm-hmm. Again, just want to reiterate that, and I'll shut up again.
All right. So now you know exactly where your traffic comes from. But of course, it's important to measure if the conversion rate on your vacancy is good. What is a conversion rate? So, for example, if you have 1,250 people that viewed your vacancy and you have 50 applications from them, then you have a conversion rate of 4%. So 4% that visited your page has actually applied for your vacancy. This is a high number. This is actually a really good conversion rate. But it's important to keep in mind that if your quality of the applications isn't that well, then your conversion rate isn't good either. So make sure that I mean, we're talking about lots of data points, but it's always important to also see the quality of it. It's a bit more difficult, of course, but you have to make sure to keep that also in mind. So, for example, if your conversion rate is 1%, then you know, okay, maybe I must adjust something in my vacancy page. Maybe I should include some pictures of the team, etc. Just an example. So you know where to adjust and optimize your campaign. All right. This one is, I think,
is
still a mistake on the from our slides, but let's move on. All right. So when you know the conversion rate for your vacancy, then you can also measure the conversion rate per channel. For example, here you can see the conversion rates of Facebook, Instagram, and Indeed. The conversion rate of Facebook is, in this example, really high, 6%. So when you know that, then you can maybe adapt your budget. You can put more budget on Facebook and maybe a bit less on Instagram and maybe not at all at Indeed. Okay, so the conversion rate is a really nice tool. You can measure it per channel, but also per campaign on that channel and on the specific ad. Which is a really useful data point to see if your campaign is working or not, and if it's consistent with your vacancy as well. Now, I know the problem is that to get influx on your vacancy, and the conversion rate must be high to get applications. Now, we're not going to talk about how you get some traffic, but we've written down a white paper about Facebook and Instagram, which you can find on our social media platforms, where everything is really really detailed, explained on how to recruit on Facebook and Instagram, because Facebook and Instagram is actually a really nice are really nice platforms to attract candidates to your vacancy. Why is this? Because, 20% of the job seekers is actively looking for a job. So they're looking on Google, on Indeed, etc., on the job boards. But 80% of the working population is not actively looking for a job. And you have to reach them where they are every single day. So if you know that Facebook and Instagram, I mean, everyone scrolls on average 160 meters per day, which is a lot, and you have to
just 100, that's 160 meters. So 160 does not mean almost 2 meters. It's 160 meters, just to make sure that you understand the breadth of that channel.
Yeah, definitely. So you have to convince them. You have to make them stop when they scroll and with your vacancy on with your advertisement on Facebook and Instagram. So that's why we're a big fan of these platforms, because they. Well, actually, I think 83% of our traffic comes from these platforms. So these are really powerful tools. But of course, you want to know how to use these tools. And there are some important metrics. Yeah.
Can I interrupt for a second, Stephanie?
Definitely.
Because we have a poll. There's no questions yet, so I'll ask questions to you. I'm just going to publish a poll here, just to understand how many of you have actually already published a paid recruitment campaign. So you'll see the poll now on the right-hand side of your screen, because we're just interested to understand and know what your experience level is with paid advertising, because obviously that will also influence what we're going to be focusing on the rest. So if you could just look at the poll, and I'll have a look at the results. Okay, so 100% of people have not yet published a campaign on Facebook. So you're in luck, because we're going to explain to you a bit more. Well, we're not going to go into detail on Facebook and Instagram. You can actually look at our other webinars or workshops for that. But we are going to explain to you how you can actually analyze the data coming from that. By the way, we have 10% of people now actually have already done a campaign. But let's continue.
So I'm going to explain you the most important metrics on these channels. First of all, reach. Reach is the amount of users that you reached with your advertisements. This is different than the impressions. The impressions are the amount of times that your advertisement is shown to your audience. It's important to know the difference between them, because if you divide the impressions through reach, then you get the frequency. And of course, you don't want to spam people with seeing your advertisement more than twice, I would recommend. So to get these metrics really for you to explain there probably. Here you have an image. So at the left, you see that 10 people have seen your ad once and 5 people have seen your ad twice, which gives us a total of impressions of 20, but a total reach of 15. You only reached 15 people. And this is important to know where to adjust your campaign. And maybe you have to set up, if your frequency is already reached, like at 2 or 3, then you have to set up another audience or another advertisement. So these metrics are important. What also is important is the click-through rate. Like I already explained to you, the conversion rate is on the vacancy itself, but the click-through rate is on the media channel you use. So if you divide the clicks through the impressions, then you get the click-through rate. For example, here, 10 clicks, 1,000 impressions, that gives a click-through rate of 1%. If you know that, then you can also see how much it costs per click. For example, here, 40 cents for one click. Sorry, yeah, 40 cents for one click, yeah. All right. So these metrics are important throughout every channel you use, so you know where to put your money at. Because, I mean, recruitment advertising, you have to have a budget for it, a media budget, and you know where to adjust. You want to know where to adjust your campaign, of course. So here again, you see the recruitment funnel and you see Google Analytics throughout the whole funnel, because Google Analytics will measure every step that a person takes. And there you can see really good, like where to optimize. Is it the conversion rate on your vacancy, or is it the click-through rate in the attract phase? All right, then we're going to do some polls, because you want to measure everything. And what we do to make a campaign successful is we test a lot for our clients. So, for example, here you see 2 advertisements of the same client, Arval. You see that the copy is the same and the function title is the same, the call to action is the same, but the visual is different. And we've put these 2 online to see which worked best.
Yes, and I'm just looking at my polls here, and
no, it's the next one.
It's the next one.
Sorry,
I was running behind a bit. Okay, don't confuse me, Stephanie.
Sorry. So the concept of A/B testing is really important when you do data-driven recruitment, because, like I said, you want to know where to optimize, you want to know where to put your money at. Now, we do lots of A/B testing, not only the campaign, the advertisements, but also the vacancy page, the questions in type form. I mean, we test everything. Like I already said, 11 million data points per month is a lot. So now you can launch a poll about Neuhaus. So this one was advertisement for Neuhaus, which was one of our clients, and we tested the function title. Like you see, everything is the same, only the function title is different. Mark has launched a poll, which you can find on the right of your screen. So let me know which one you think worked best on social media.
All right, let's have a look at the results here. So 100% of people think the one on the right worked best.
Okay.
So let's give it 2 more seconds to see if it'll, yes, okay. Some votes coming in, but everybody's going for the one on the right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, if we looked at the data afterwards, then we saw that actually the one on the right was the winner. We had 41 applications and the cost per application was only 12 euros. The one on the left, the cost per application was 63 euros, which is, of course, a lot. And you want to put your money, well, the best way. So, of course, we put more money, more budget for the right picture.
So congratulations to all of you who voted. You were all right.
Yeah.
You chose right and you were right. Yes.
All right, another one of Legerstock. Legerstock was also one of our clients. He searched for a sales consultant. We received 2 pictures from them. Well, you can see 2 pictures of them here, but we received more. We tested them to see which one worked best. The one at the right, I don't know if you can see it clearly, but they're holding their mobile phones before their mouth, but they're wearing a mouth mask, so you can see actually their laugh, their smile. So which one worked best, do you think?
It's 50-50 at the moment, so let's wait to see where the balance will go. Yes, okay, so it's more people going for the one on the left.
Okay. That is actually a good answer because the one on the left had 22 applications for a cost per application of 21 euros. The one on the right was a bit more expensive and we had less applications. Now, what I want to point out is that we actually thought here at the office that the one on the right was more playful, was more fun, but actually, like what we think doesn't really matter with data-driven recruitment. If we just put it live, we see the results come in, and then we take a decision of which one worked best with the data we see and we have.
Okay, so can I just interrupt you before we go to the next one? Because we had some questions, and apologies, I was working on the polls, so I didn't see the questions coming in. My bad. Here I am complaining about questions, and I get one, and I'm not reacting. Apologies for that. First of all, Helena asked a question on the A/B test. If you can just go back to the A/B test, maybe.
Wait, which one?
The Neuheit's one. And next one, yes. So the question here was, were we searching for a supervisor or a team leader? It's a good question, actually, and this might be Belgium specific, Helena. This title in Belgium is kind of used intermittently because it also depends a bit on, from a company perspective, they see this as the same function. So what's important is that it's not only the applications you saw in the cost per application, is obviously not just linked to who's clicking on this first visual, right? Because further down in the vacancy, we also explain the details of the function, i.e., you need to manage a team, these are the shifts you have to work in, etc., etc., etc. The point being is that the content from the job is exactly the same. So I see your point where you're saying, well, it's a different job. Partially you're right. But of course, at the end of the day, what you want, especially on your Facebook campaign, is you want to make sure people click and they read more about your vacancy. The vacancy text, like I mentioned before, was exactly the same. So the content of the job is the same. It's just how do you drag people, how do you motivate, how do you incentivize people to click? And that's why we're kind of testing different function names. So it's not like the job was changing. It was just like, what do we change on the visual to make people click? That's, I hope, an answer on your first question. The second question from Helena was whether you could maybe explain again the difference between reach and impressions.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good to go to that slide then. There you go.
So the reach is the amount of people that you actually reached with your advertisements. Okay, so here on the slide, it's 15 people. You see 15 people that saw your ad. But the impressions is the amount of times that your ad is shown, which is different because some people can see your ad, for example, once, but other people can see your ad twice. So that makes a total impressions of 20 instead of 15.
Yeah.
I hope that's clear.
Maybe just to clarify, maybe putting it in a different way, reach means the amount of people that have seen your advertising at least once.
Yeah.
Right? That's another way of putting it, right? And then, of course, depending on the frequency, that can be more people. Or another way of calling reach would be unique viewers, right? People uniquely who have seen it once. So I hope that's the explanation to your question. Sorry, that clarified it a bit more. And then a question from Barry. Let me just read it out. Does the job level, experience level, technical level of the candidate profile reflect the level of applications from Facebook and Instagram, or can you see those metrics? Shall I take this question?
Yeah.
Okay, Barry, I'll just put on my camera because that's maybe a bit more personal to show that. Obviously, that's not data you will have once you go and campaign on Facebook and Instagram, right? Because unlike LinkedIn, you cannot select on those levels. What we do, we use different data points, but I don't want to go into that kind of detail here because, as we said, that was not the objective of today's campaign, so today's webshop. Our Facebook and Instagram workshop actually deals exactly with that and how you can target those people. Now, you will see those metrics if you ask those questions during your application. So if you use a chatbot-like system, you can very easily structure those questions to get that data in on the right time. And that's something maybe I just want to kind of revisit. When Stephanie was showing and talking about the chatbot, it's not only about the candidate experience. Obviously, a candidate experience when you use a chatbot is a lot more pleasant than asking people to send an email with a resume. That's one advantage. The second advantage is that you will actually get all that data in a structured way, because everybody who's applying applies to the same questions, answers in the same way. And then, yes, you will be able to actually register that data, and you'll be able to understand, okay, people coming in via Instagram, what level do they have? Are they more masters or more bachelors? So once you have them apply, you are able to do the analysis on those metrics. But Facebook and Instagram will not give you that data. You will have to do an extra step to be able to analyze that. So I hope that answered that question. If I maybe misunderstood or you have a more follow-up question to that, please ask, and I promise I will pay more attention to that chat box and not so much on the polls. Good. Let's continue.
So you can, like I already said, you can test some pictures, you can test function titles, but you can also test it with video. So for example, here you see two different videos which we made for one of our clients, which is called Stad Antwerpen. Stad Antwerpen is city of Antwerp. We're based here in Belgium, in Antwerp, the city of the world, or how do you say it?
It's the center of the world.
The center of the world. Okay, so you see two videos. They're different, but it's important to put them both live to see which one worked best, because if you put only one live, then maybe it won't work, and then you don't know why. Now, what is important with video, you're never gonna know why version A is working better than version B, because there are a lot of animations, there are a lot of pictures, but at least you know which one works best to continue with that version. All right. Now, some things to pay attention to when you do A/B testing. First of all, make sure that when you set up an experiment, that you only test one thing at a time. So for example, if you want to test the copy, the visual, the call to action, and the function title, well, then you have lots of A/B testing, maybe I think 16 or even more, but make sure that you test everything at one time. So for example, what we do, we begin with different pictures, then we continue with the picture that worked best. We edit our copy a bit different, so we have different copy ads as well, and so and in that way you really know why version A worked, for example, better than version B. So this is really important if you set up A/B testing. And then a second one, make sure that everything is set up correctly. The UTM parameters, the UTM tags, need to be installed correctly with every link you produce on social media or on a job board. You want to make sure that UTM parameters are set up correctly so you can measure everything correctly in Google Analytics. Okay. Now, of course, you have Google Analytics, but you also have maybe Facebook Ads Manager, you have different job boards. and you want to capture everything in one place. What we do is we use Google Data Studio. Google Data Studio is a free tool of Google where you can set up dashboards yourself. It's really easy. You can customize it yourself. Here you can see a dashboard that we've made for one of our clients, Alchemass. You see at the left the recruitment funnel, the different steps that a person takes, and then at the right, the impressions and the click-through of Facebook and Instagram.
And maybe just to add why is it important to have a dashboard? Because we all know everybody is very busy, right? And once, even if you have all the data in different sources, once a campaign goes live, none of you will have the time to actually go and spend 2 hours per day analyzing all that data. So it's really important. Again, I'm coming back to my same point. Do the setup right? Make a dashboard so that once you go live, you can just have one overview where you can immediately identify where's my bottleneck, where do I need to work on?
Yeah. Now, like I already said, you put money, you put media budget for your recruitment on different channels, and the quality of the applications that come in are really important, which you can see over here, because we had a media budget of 3,000 euros, which we spent on Facebook and Indeed. We divided our budget, but then we saw that we had more applications coming from Indeed, but the quality was less than the ones from Facebook. So the return on ad spend is also really important throughout the different channels. For example, here you could see that the click-through on Indeed was better, but and the conversion rate as well. So the people that landed on the page from Indeed, they applied more than the ones coming from Facebook. But if you see, the quality was double than the quality of Indeed for Facebook. So of course, the media budget of Facebook was actually better spent than the media budget for Indeed, if you take the quality of the applications in count. All right, now I know it's a lot of data. I know there's several points that you have to analyze. You have to analyze it correctly. You have to set up it correctly. But at Simple, we have a software where you can set up easily your Facebook campaign for your recruitment, for your vacancy. You don't have to have any marketing know-how. It's really, 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 really easy. And if you don't believe me, then Mark will show you our software.
So just as a proud daddy of the software, I will very quickly, don't worry guys, I'm not going to take too long, but it's important just to understand, because it also will give you some thoughts on how you can structure your own campaigns. Actually, how it works is we will kind of help you for each campaign to understand, okay, how do you reach the target audience, right? So for instance, you will click on that, you'll be able to, need to log in again. That's what happens. You'll then be able to kind of actually see and target the right people, right? And then we will use our data set. You say, okay, I'm looking for somebody in administration. We will use our data set to start looking at similar vacancies, which we have top in that area. You can also set up your ad within the software. So you can upload a picture, you can upload your logo. Immediately, the ad will be made there, will be set up. So make it all very, very easy for you to actually start running your campaigns. We will automatically generate UTM codes. We will automatically do the analysis. It will be shown in the dashboard. You can see on your dashboard. Let's see if that works here. Yes, there you go. You'll be able, in the dashboard in the app, you will see how many impressions, how many visits, which ads are working, which ads are not working. So make it very, very easy for you to do that. And I will, as I promised, I'll stop here. I'll pass the presentation back to Stephanie.
Yes.
If that's working. There you go.
All right.
And I will share a link to the free trial. You can have 2 weeks free trial, so you can actually see if this is something that might work for you. I'll put that in the chat here. All right. And also to interrupt, because I just noticed a comment from Barry on the chatbot. This will also include an automated chatbot. So we'll also set up a chatbot with the questions you want to ask to your candidates in there.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to say one more thing, that if it's the first time that you're doing paid recruitment campaigns on Facebook and Instagram, it's always difficult at the beginning, because also Facebook measures the campaigns you did in the past. And like Simple has lots of data. We have done more than 6,000 recruitment campaigns now. So if you start, if you use our software, you can also use all our data points, which we have from the past.
It's a great point, actually.
Yeah.
I should have thought about that.
I thought I'd mention it.
You should start selling our software, Stephanie.
I think I'm saying marketeer, but all right. So we've come to the end. I don't know if you have any more questions. Please, you can ask in the chat.
Yeah. Let's just see. There's one question coming in.
Yeah.
Here. Okay, so the question from Barry is: what if your company does not have a Facebook or Instagram page?
Okay. If you work with Facebook Ads Manager itself, it's a tool where you set up the recruitment campaigns on Facebook and Instagram, then you have to have a Facebook and Instagram page. But if you work with our software, then you don't have to have a Facebook and Instagram page. We will take care of everything, and you don't have to set up a page yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not sure if you buried that, but that was your question. But basically, if you want to kind of campaign, you need to set up a Facebook, Instagram page, or use our software. The question from Elena: do you have more people analytics tools or only for recruitment? Okay, good question. No, Elena. At the moment, our software is only focused on the talent attraction part. We also call it talent attraction technology. So it will help you with reaching candidates. It will help you with the selection. It will help you with the screening of the candidates. But it doesn't kind of continue after that. So basically, once you signed the contract with your candidate, there will not be an onboarding tool or something like that. So you only focus on the recruitment part of the with our software. Okay, yes. Let's see. I think I'm just checking the chat, but also not in the chat. There's no more questions there.
Okay. So if you still have more questions in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, months, or years, you can always send us an email or a private message on LinkedIn. And also, like I already said, on our LinkedIn company page or on our Facebook company page, we always communicate our next webinars and our next workshops.
Yes, and I'm just pasting down the link to the resources page.
Okay.
If it all goes well. So on that page, you can already see and look at the webinars we've done in the past, and download the white papers, and so on. So there you go.
All right. Then I think we can conclude the webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are going to install Google Analytics.
I have one more, Paul. Let me ask one question on to get some feedback. So please let us know whether you think this was useful. That's the first poll. And the second one is a question on what you think our next webinar should be. So there's two more polls. If you can just spend 15 seconds on that, and let us know, hey, whether you think this is useful. And let's just have a look. 100% of the people who voted think it was useful. Thank you. That's probably my mom who's in the audience. Thank you, Mom. Now there's more people who also think it was useful. So thank you very much. That's probably Barry and Elena who also asked the questions. Again, thanks Barry and Elena for asking those questions. And then also, and people are also filling in the last poll. Okay. Steph, I'll leave it back into your capable hands to close it down.
Yes. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I wish you a very happy and nice Thursday. It's Thursday?
Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
just to show you we are live, right? This is not recorded. It's a live webinar. It is Thursday.
And we hope to see you soon. And if you have any questions with the trial of our software, please don't hesitate to ask us.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, everybody.